Finally made it, folks. We are here in Atlanta after checking into the hotel 3 times in Indy. We're out of there on the ground in Atlanta and ready for the Raptors and the Hawks tonight. And it's a very different game day. The fact that this is the first time, Eric, I think in the time that we've been doing it, that the team has actually traveled on game day. A different experience. How will they adapt? You know, they need a win badly. Let's see how they do tonight.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't bode well for them.
No,
when you think about the way that it's stacked against them, you know, in terms of not only have they lost 12 in a row, not only are they reeling because of that right now, but oh, by the way, you've been, you know, on and off of buses and airplanes for the last 2 days, battling a winter storm. Then you fly in on a game day. Now, the only good thing, I suppose, is to sort of take away the built-in excuse. Yeah, they probably got up a little bit earlier today than they normally would on a game day. It was likely a 7:15, 7:30 wake up for most guys, on the bus at 8. But by the time you got on the plane, got in the air, and landed, the team landed in Atlanta at 10:45 and went straight to the arena for a shoot-around. So they were probably at the arena by 11:15, which is when they would normally be at the arena for a game day shoot-around. Now, granted, they were up a little bit earlier, but still, in terms of the routine is now on in terms of what it would normally be on a game day. They got here early enough to do that, so they'll get back from shoot-around around 12:15, likely have a team lunch together and go over video, which they always do. Guys will go back to their room, have their afternoon nap, and just sort of chill out for the afternoon, and then get back on the bus at 4:45 to head to the arena for the game tonight. So that's, you know, kind of in line with the regular routine.
All that stuff is now past, and as you said, Eric, back on track, back on routine. But I tell you, the Hawks are going to be a tough opponent. 30-18. Have a guy in Jamal Crawford, who I personally feel is one of the most unguardable guys one-on-one in the league in terms of his ball handling and his ability to move you laterally because of the way he handles the ball. He doesn't have the brawn and the strength of a LeBron or a Wade, but he's just, as a slight frame, he can really, really get to the basket, and he's a terrific scorer. Number 1 in the NBA in bench scoring as an individual. Last year's 6th man of the year. He's not too bad against Toronto either.
I think he's on line for being 6th man of the year again this year. I mean, his biggest competition probably another former 6th man in Jason Terry. But if this team continues to do what they're doing right now, on pace for 50-plus wins for the 2nd straight season, I can't imagine that Jamal Crawford wouldn't be, kind of leading the charge. And he's been a Raptor killer over the course of his career. Period. I mean, not just with Atlanta, but go back to Chicago and New York and Golden State and the 50-point game that he had against Toronto. I mean, you know, as much as we talk about LeBron James having big games against the Raptors and Carmelo Anthony, Jamal Crawford's right in that chunk of players as well that have just been Raptor killers over the course of their career.
Don't forget Joe Johnson's still in the lineup, and they got a couple guys probably going to get some votes as all-star reserves in Al Horford and Josh Smith. And although a lot of people look at Horford, man, Josh Smith has some terrific numbers, already owns a triple-double this season against Toronto. So they're going to be a formidable matchup. Let's see how Toronto does. Let's see if they can get off to a decent start and hold it. Again, the start hurt them in Indiana. They were able to battle back, but used a lot of energy coming up the hill and weren't able to hold it. Still, this team is beat up. I mean, we talked about Jason Terry and Jamal Crawford as the 2 leading bench scorers in the NBA. Hey, Toronto's got a guy who's pretty fair too, and he's 4th in that category. That's Barbosa. Problem is, he's not with the team. And I think that's something that's hurt the Raptors' depth, the fact that when Jay Triano has had to move some of his bench people into the starting lineup, when he goes to the bench, there's nothing there. And I think the bench has dipped in their production over the course of the last little while as well.
I think this is something that we hit on the broadcast the other day as well. I can't remember if we did it in the vlog or not. I mean, everything's kind of in a cloud of what we've been through the last couple of days. But speaking to your point about the bench, Jonesy, it's not only the production or lack thereof because of the way it's sort of thinned out now, but the experience factor. You figure the 3 guys that are back in Toronto right now are 3 of the 4 most senior members of the team in Kleza, Barbosa, and Reggie Evans. You look at this team right now, Jose Calderon and Andrea Bargnani, the only 2 players with 5+ years of experience, and Andrea is in his 5th. After that, and you look down the bench like, okay, we got a lot of young guys, a lot of inexperienced players, a lot of guys sort of playing either out of their element or still growing into their element. So that sort of speaks to it as well. I certainly don't think it's an excuse or something to point the finger at for 12 losses in a row. but it's certainly a factor in why things have. It's a factor, but not an excuse.
Well, here's again, I'll bring up my magic number of 45%. The Raptors lost their 8th game against Indiana this year when holding a team under 45%. Over the last 5 years, that's the biggest number. They've never lost more than 8 when holding a team under 45%. They're already at 8 this year, and to me, that's a function of their offense at times. Games like Minnesota shooting under 30%, a 40% night against Indiana. I think their offense is letting them a bit down when they do play decent enough defense because of the depth and the injuries.
Well, and here's the other thing too, quickly. I know we're going on kind of long here, but Andrea Bargnani clearly needs to start stepping it up. He's been in a funk for at least a week, if not 2. His offense has been terrible. He's got to find his range. He's got to find his shot because he's hurting the team offensively as a top 20 scorer who's not playing like that and who's not performing like that. And he's definitely been a disappointment defensively as well because I'll be the first to say it. You heard me say it a bunch last year, and I'll still stand by this. Going back to last year and the previous seasons, I believe that Andrea Bargnani was a better defender than Chris Bosh and was one of the better defenders on the team and definitely the best big defender on the team. Not this year, or at least not lately for this team. And he needs to start kind of showing a little more grit and intensity on the defensive end of the floor.
The whole team does, or else this losing streak could continue. We'll talk with you tonight from Atlanta, folks.
Is it 7 or 7:30 tip? It's all a fog right now.
I think it's a 7 o'clock tip.
See, and I thought it was 7:30. I thought we have a pregame show. But
tune in at 7.
Either way, at 7 you're hearing something.
Exactly.
Either
the game,
pregame or a game. One of the two. I can't even think right now. And I'm going to block out the camera as I shut it off because we're on a garbage can on top of a pack of M&Ms. That's what we're doing today.